proteinuria, majority of the proteins, they are secreted, including albumin, globulin, and other proteins. So there is decrease in the serum albumin level, which leads to hypoalbuminemia. Because of this, there is decrease in the colloid osmotic pressure, that is the decreased pressure because of the decreased plasma proteins in the vessels, which leads to decrease in the plasma volume, thereby leading to decrease in the GFR. When there is decreased GFR, there is stimulation of the renin-angiotensin mechanism, which leads to increased aldosterone secretion. The function of the aldosterone is to cause sodium and water retention in the body, which leads to edema or anasarca. Anasarca is generalized edema of the body. Also, when there is decrease in the colloid osmotic pressure, it leads to accumulation of fluid in the interstitial tissue. Because in the interstitial tissue, there are more proteins, which lead to drawing off more and more of the fluid, leading to edema. Also, there is a compensatory increase in the synthesis of lipoproteins. Because there is decreased albumin, the albumin fails to compensate. The liver also secretes increased amount of albumin, but it fails to compensate because there is increased secretion in the urine. It also leads to compensatory increase in the synthesis of lipoprotein, and there is increased catabolism, which leads to hyperlipidemia. Because the glomerular capillary walls are so leaky that these lipids also leak out into the urine, causing lipiduria. Now, the nephrotic syndrome is mainly because of two factors, that is the primary factor and the secondary. The primary nephrotic syndrome is seen in diseases like membranous nephropathy, in which the antibodies are mainly formed against the phospholipase A2 receptor, which is present in the glomerular capillary wall. So the targeted antigen of the kidney in this is the glomerular capillary wall A2 receptor, against which the antibodies are formed, which are going to again damage the capillary wall. There is immune complex formation and deposition along the glomerular capillary wall, which leads to damage of the walls and increased leakage of the protein. Other primary causes, minimal change disease, in which there is effacement of the food processes, and the most common cause of nephrotic syndrome in children. Next is focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. Most of the times it is idiopathic, and sometimes there is genetic mutations in the genes like NPHS1, NPHS2, and INF2. These are the major genes which are involved in the FSGS. FSGS is the most common cause of nephrotic syndrome in adults. Then other rare causes could be IgA nephropathy, fibrillary glomerulopathy, pneumotactoid glomerulopathy, in which the fibrils are more than 30 nanometers, and in fibrillary they are thin fibrils, that is 16 to 24 nanometers. Then there could be smoking-associated glomerulosclerosis, but these are all less common. The most common is minimal change disease and FSGS, followed by membranous. In secondary cases, it could again be minimal change disease, which could be secondary to any other disease which is present in the body. These are primary, which are primarily affecting the kidney, and secondary because the disease is occurring somewhere else, and then you're getting nephrotic syndrome as a sequel of it. The minimal change disease could be because of any hematological malignancy or any drugs, when there is increased intake of NSAIDs. Focal segmental because of the diabetes, hypertension, any viral infection like HIV, parvovirus B19, or any drug abuse. Also seen in obesity and unilateral nephrectomy assessment, when the other kidney is compensating for the function of the lost kidney. Then membranous nephropathy, class 5, systemic lupus, solid tumors, hepatitis B or hepatitis C infection, and other infections like syphilis. But these are all less common. Most commonly we see what is the primary nephrotic syndrome. Now in brief, what is meant by nephritic syndrome? It is a disease which is characterized mainly by the inflammatory changes in the glomeruli. Nephrotic means there is damage to the capillary walls. Nephritic is when there is inflammation in the glomeruli. The main clinical features of nephritic syndrome include hematuria, that is the presence of RBCs and red blood cell casts in the urine. These casts are nothing but the modified RBCs only, which are present in the urine. When the RBCs they are passing down the urinary tract, they undergo some morphological changes and they appear as casts in urine. Also, when the red blood cells are so much in the urine, the hyaline casts they engulf these, they take up these RBCs, which appear as red blood cell casts. Then there is proteinuria, which is subnephrotic range, that is, it is less than 3.5 gram per deciliter. There can be and there cannot be edema in the body. There is presence of azotemia and there is hypertension. Okay. Pathophysiology of nephritic syndrome. When there are inflammation. I'm audible, right? Hello? Okay. When there are inflammatory cells in the capillary lumen, they are going to damage the capillary wall, which leads to hematuria. Okay, any infectious process which has led to so many inflammatory cells within the mesangium and the capillary wall, they will damage them and lead to hematuria. Also, because there is damage to the capillary lumen, there is going to be some hemodynamic changes, which leads to decrease in the GFR and leads to decreased urine output, which is oliguria. Also, azotemia is increased urea and creatinine in the body, all the wastage products, the waste products are not getting secreted in the urine. So there is going to be azotemia. Because there is decreased GFR, again, renin-angiotensin mechanism is stimulated, leading to aldosterone secretion, in which there is sodium and water retention, increase in the plasma volume. So there is edema, but that is not much as that of nephrotic syndrome. Also, there is hypertension because the walls, they are damaged. There is increased pressure to the blood flow supplying to, because increased pressure to the kidney blood flow, which leads to hypertension. Then some major differences between nephrotic and nephritic syndrome. In nephrotic syndrome, in the urine, you're mainly going to see fatty cars because there is lipiduria, increased secretion of the lipids in the urine. So the hyaline cars, they modify themselves into fatty cars. In nephritic syndrome, mainly you see RBC cars and there is specific color of the urine, which is cola colored urine because of hematuria. Then the proteinuria in nephrotic is more than 3.5 gram per day, and in nephritic it is less than 3.5 grams. Hematuria can and cannot be present in nephrotic syndrome, whereas it is almost all the time present in nephritic syndrome. Clinical features is generalized edema, periorbital edema associated with hypertension in nephrotic, and in nephritic there is mainly hypertension and hematuria followed by edema. Now we're going to discuss some cases. You have to tell me the clinical diagnosis and we'll proceed with it. A 4-year-old boy with nephrotic syndrome and a renal biopsy shows no light microscopic changes. On ultrastructural findings, we see diffuse effacement of the epithelial foot processes. So what is the most likely diagnosis? Yes, I would like to see your answers in the box. Very good. It is minimal change disease. In minimal change disease, there are no light microscopic changes. Only ultrastructurally, we see the diffuse effacement of the epithelial foot process. It is minimal change disease. This is a picture from your Robbins only. This is a light microscopic picture. This is the glomeruli. And these are all small capillaries. This is the capillary tuft inside the glomeruli. And these are all your ducts, collecting ducts of the tubules. This is normal. You don't see any changes here. Whereas this is an electron microscopic picture. This is your capillary lumen. Okay, this hole is your glomeruli. And this is your capillary lumen. This is the mesangium, which is present between the glomeruli capillary. Now you see here are present, यहाँ पे होते हैं visceral epithelial cells, which are, and you see the foot processes of these epithelial cells. There is flattening of this. Diffuse effacement of the epithelial foot processes, which is seen in minimal change disease. Okay. In the light microscopy, the glomerular basement membrane is going to appear normal and there are going to be no electron dense deposition. The principal reason is that in the visceral epithelial cells are going to show a uniform and diffuse effacement of the foot processes, which is being reduced to a rim only. Earlier, we used to call it fusion of the food processes, which is actually just the simplification of the flattening. There is another word which is important in this is the retraction of the food processes. There is retraction and effacement of the food processes. Other states where you can see this is in membranous glomerulopathy and even diabetic nephropathy, in which there is effacement and associated with the normal glomeruli on the light microscopy. There was a different name in the past for this minimal change disease, which was lipoid nephrosis. The visceral epithelial changes, they are completely reversible after the corticosteroid therapy, and the cells of the proximal tubules, they're often laden with the lipid and protein, reflecting the tubular reabsorption of the lipoprotein. Because there is lipiduria, this is the cause of nephrotic syndrome. Because there is lipiduria, these lipid casts of the lipoproteins, they are taken up by the tubules. And that is why it was earlier known as lipoid nephrosis. Since there is no inflammatory changes, there is no immune complex involvement in this, so there are going to be no depositions of IgG or complement deposits in the glomeruli. Next, a clinical evaluation of a young adult with generalized edema shows heavy proteinuria. Now see, this is a young adult and has heavy proteinuria. The past medical history is unremarkable. What is the most likely diagnosis? Yes, it is nephrotic syndrome, but what is the cause of nephrotic syndrome in this patient? Adiba, it is not a membranous. There is no medical history. Patient has nothing. And what is the most common cause of nephrotic syndrome in adults? You can get a question like this also. And I just now told, yes, it's very good, Pooja. It is focal segmental. Patient is an adult and there is edema with heavy proteinuria, which means that the patient has nephrotic syndrome. Very good. And the most common cause of nephrotic syndrome in adults is FSGS. It is focal segmental. Very, very good. This is focal segmental. What is meant by focal? When only a part of glomeruli is involved, it is known as focal. And focal, and it is less than 50% of the glomeruli are involved. Then less than 50% of the glomeruli are involved, it is focal, and more than 50% is diffuse. Segmental means only a segment of the mesangium is involved. Only this segment is involved, and it is not entirely involving the whole of the glomerulus. So it is known as focal segmental. In these two pictures, this is a past stain and this is the normal HNE stain. This is the glomeruli and this is the glomerular wall. This arrow, this is sclerosis that you can see here. This is the sclerotic area. This is focal segmental glomerular sclerosis. When it is involving the entire glomeruli and more than 50% are involved, it is known as diffuse glomerular sclerosis, which is seen in systemic lupus nephritis. I'm sorry, this is yes. In the light microscopy, the focal and the segmental lesions, they involve only a minority of the glomeruli. Okay, and there is increase in the matrix and segmental deposition of the plasma protein because the glomerular capillary walls, they are so leaky, so there is going to be deposition of the plasma proteins along the capillary wall, which is known as hyalinosis. And sometimes it is so pronounced that it can completely block the capillary lumen. Lipid droplets and foamy cells, they can be present in the mesangium. They can be present in the tubules also. The glomeruli that do not show segmental lesions, that they appear normal on the light microscopy, but they can have increased mesangial matrix. Again, on electron microscopy, both the sclerotic and the non-sclerotic areas, they're going to show diffuse effacement of the food process. If focal segmental FSGS is secondary to any inflammatory process, on immunofluorescence, IgM and C3 can be present in the sclerotic areas and the mesangium, but this is not necessarily always present. You can and you cannot get these deposition of IgM and C3 in the mesangium. In addition to this, the afferent arterioles, with the progression of the decrease, they the increased number of glomeruli, they are going to become involved. More and more of the glomeruli are going to show stenosis, and then it becomes diffuse or global. Now, this is the third case. A renal biopsy of a patient with severe infection reveals a tissue intracapillary proliferation with leukocytic infiltration and obliteration of the capillary lumen. There is intracapillary leukocyte and there is obliteration of the capillary lumen. On immunofluorescence, we see granular, mesangial, and glomerular deposit of IgG and C3. What is the diagnosis? Yes, there is deposition in the mesangium as well as in the glomerular capillary wall. What is the diagnosis? Only Adiba has answered. Yes, it is. There is granular deposition. No, Arnav, it is not Buerger's disease. Dense deposit is also a type of MPGN. Very good. It is MPGN. Dense deposit is also a type of membranoproliferative, but it is type 2. And in dense deposit, there is only deposition of C3. तभी उसको C3 glomerular nephropathy कहते हैं. Dense deposit disease, the other name is C3 glomerular nephropathy. In this, there is deposition of IgG as well. So it is MPGN, membranoproliferative. Sorry, it was post-streptococcal. There is another history of MPGN. C3 dense deposit होती है तो सिर्फ glomerular capillary wall और इसके आसपास होती है. This is a post-streptococcal. Deposition. What are going to be the electron microscopic findings? See, ये जो हमारा glomeruli होता है, इसमें in post-streptococcal there are deposition in the mesangium as well as in the subendothelial region in the earlier stages. जैसे जैसे disease progress होती है, as the disease progresses, these deposits are seen in the subepithelial region also, which is beneath the visceral epithelial cell layer. In this, we are seeing the mesangium is full of inflammatory cells. It is full of inflammatory cells. It means the mesangium is full of inflammatory cells. Also, यहाँ पे आपको क्या दिख रहा है? There is glomerular. This is normal, and this is glomerular hypercellularity. जब mesangium में इतने सारे inflammatory cells हों, and there is deposition of IgG and C3 on IS findings, first think of PSGN. Later on, when the disease progresses, these deposits are seen in the subepithelial region, which are going to produce a lumpy, bumpy lesion on electron microscopy. This is an electron microscopic picture, which is showing these deposits, the subepithelial deposits. इतना बड़ा lump दिख रहा है? These are known as humps on electron microscopic findings. And on immunofluorescence, these are the granular deposits which are seen in the mesangium. Because inflammatory cells है, वो सबसे पहले mesangium में आएंगे, then they are going to be subendothelium and later on subepithelium when they produce humps on electron microscopy. So you're going to see always a granular deposition in the mesangium. This is IgG. Okay, so this was PSGN. इसे membranoproliferative से भी confuse कर सकते हैं, but in membranoproliferative there is going to be granular deposition throughout the membrane. Membrane में throughout deposition होती है, mesangium में भी होती है, but more commonly it is in the membrane. So membrane में जो आ जाती है tram track appearance, it is because the inflammatory cells or the immune complex are deposited within the membrane in the subepithelial region. PSGN की pathogenesis, most commonly it is after a streptococcal infection, mainly a throat infection and rarely a skin infection. The streptococcal toxin, which is the exotoxin B, it is leads to the formation of antibodies, and there is formation of immune complexes, that is the antigen antibody complexes, which are deposited in the subendothelial region and in the mesangial region. This is earlier in the disease. Then they are going to initiate an inflammatory reaction. There is going to be activation of the complement system as well. and there is going to be recruitment of more and more of the neutrophils and macrophages at that site. पहले जाके वहाँ पे immune complexes deposit हो गए, more and activating the complement system, recruiting more and more of the inflammatory cells. Then there is these immune complexes, they're going to get deposited on the outer aspect of the glomerular basement membrane. पहले subendothelial होते हैं, and then when they go on the opposite side of the basement membrane, बाहर निकल गए, then these basement membrane के बाहर क्या होते हैं? Epithelial foot processes, visceral cells के foot processes जो होते हैं. So they are getting deposited beneath them. That is why you call them subepithelial. ये foot process के नीचे जाके deposit हो गया. So this is a hump. This is subepithelial hump. PSGN में characteristic होते हैं. Granular deposits are seen on immunofluorescence. Yeah, questions I'm going to answer after the class. Okay, I'm seeing that what is the difference between IgA nephropathy and PSGN. I'm going to answer after the class. Okay, classic histological picture that you see in PSGN is there is enlarged and hypercellular glomeruli. Now, why is the glomeruli hypercellular? It is because of the proliferation of the endothelial cells as well as the mesangial cells. And in severe infiltration, there is these can be global and diffuse, involving all the glomeruli. Initially, few glomeruli are involved, and later on, as the disease progresses, it can be global and diffuse. There is also swelling of the endothelial cells, infiltration of the capillary lumens by the inflammatory cells. There is going to be interstitial edema and inflammation. But inflammation in PSGN is seen everywhere, including the mesangium, interstitial space around the tubules, and they can even block the capillary lumens. On immunofluorescence microscopy, there are granular deposits of IgG and C3. IgG पहले बना antibody बनी against the exotoxin B, which later stimulates the complement system, leading to consumption of more and more of the C3, which are deposited mainly in the subendothelial region and mesangium, followed by subepithelial deposition. Sometimes IgM can also be seen in mesangium and along the glomerular basement membrane. These immune complexes, they are almost universally present. मतलब सब जगह होते हैं, ठीक है? Later on disease में सब epithelial होते हैं, but they can be seen anywhere in the glomeruli. And the characteristic electron microscopic findings are discrete amorphous electron dense deposits on the epithelial side of the membrane, which are known as the hump. Okay. And I think this is the last history. Yes, this is last. A 12-year-old boy has nephrotic syndrome and low complement levels. There is mesangial and glomerular capillary deposition of C3 and IgG. Electron microscopy shows large subendothelial electron dense deposits and mesangial deposition. This was subepithelial. ये आपके पास आएंगे subepithelial करके PSGN. Now I am saying that this is going to be subendothelial deposition and mesangial proliferation. Also, again, there is deposition of C3 and IgG, but it is in the mesangium and in the subendothelial region. So what is the most likely diagnosis? Yes, now it is membranoproliferative. Very good. Site of deposition of immune complexes will tell you the type of nephrotic syndrome, tell you the type of nephritis. Okay, this is MPGN type 1. Very good, Pooja. What is the picture? This is a silver stain. The black stain that you see is silver stain. It is showing you the basement membrane thickening. The capillary lumen भी thickening है, and ये mesangium में भी thickening हो गई है, ठीक है? Basement membrane thickening with segmental splitting and attenuation of the lobular architecture. The lobular architecture is still maintained, okay, but there is just swelling, and the deposits that you see are going to be subendothelial. That is, the capillary lumen है, capillary lumen होती है, lining होती है endothelium. They are going to each them. That is why it is subendothelial and also in the mesangium. Okay. I'm so sorry about this. Okay. In this also, the glomeruli, they are going to be large and hypercellular, and the hypercellularity is again because of the proliferation of these cells in the mesangium, because of the immune complexes. Also, there is endocapillary proliferation involving the capillary endothelium lobular appearance. दो टाइप के cells proliferate हो रहे हैं, तो mesangial cells and the endocapillary cells, and also there is deposition of the immune complexes. That is why the glomeruli is hypercellular and large. The GBM, the globular basement membrane, or the double contour or the Tram-Tack appearance is classical of MPGN type 1, especially seen on Pass and Silverstein. There is duplication of the basement membrane, which is commonly known as splitting, usually as a result of the new basement membrane synthesis. In capillaries के पास जब यहाँ पे deposition शुरू हो जाती है, the basement membrane, the capillaries, यहाँ की जो ये basement membrane होती है, it is going to secrete new basement membrane like material around those deposits. Deposit हो गए in the endocapillary region, the basement membrane is now will now synthesize a new basement membrane like material, which is going to give a Tram-Tack appearance. मतलब double layering हो जाती है, but it is granular and it is different from membranous nephropathy. There is duplication of the basement membrane, which is mainly splitting, and new basement membrane deposition around these subendothelial deposits. Between the duplicated basement membrane, there is intrusion or interposition of the cellular element, giving rise to the appearance of split basement membrane. Yes, Arnav, I will answer you, and I'm going to answer these questions. In type 1 MPGN, the subendothelial electron dense deposits are seen. Mesangium and occasional subepithelial deposits may be seen. MPGN में mainly subendothelial and mesangial deposits, subepithelial can be seen. They are mainly IgG and C3 depositions in a granular pattern, and also early components of the complement system like C1q and C4 can be present. This is type 1. Type 2 भी similar होती है, which is known as dense deposit disease, as किसी ने मुझसे पूछा था अभी पहले ऊपर डाउट में. Type 2 MPGN को अब हम बोलते हैं dense deposit disease, in which there is deposition of only C3, and the other name for that is C3 glomerulopathy. The deposits are going to be same in the mesangium and in the subendothelial region. Arnav, your doubt is that in the subendothelial deposits? Yes, मैंने बोला था पहले इसमें. Initially, the deposits they are seen in the subendothelial region and the mesangial region, but as the disease progresses, जब तक patient हमारे पास progress करके आता है, हम develop हो चुके होते हैं, which are in the subepithelial region. So yes, they can be both subendothelial, mesangial, and subepithelial. Okay. I think किसी और ने भी एक doubt पूछा था. What is the difference between IgA and PSGN? See, PSGN mainly occurs after a infectious process, mainly a sore throat or a skin infection. That history is going to be present. IgA and of course there is hematuria in PSGN. IgA is the most common cause of hematuria, or क्या बोल सकते हैं, most common nephritic syndrome in children. It presents with micro and macro hematuria both, and as the name suggests, there are depositions of IgA complexes in the mesangium. Subendothelial and subepithelial, very rare. They are mainly in the mesangium and they are composed mainly of IgA. Whereas in PSGN, it is IgG and C3 deposits, which are going to produce a characteristic hump on the electron microscopic changes. Whereas in IgA, these deposits are seen scattered in the mesangium. Okay, it does not present with other symptoms of nephrotic syndrome or lipiduria like that. ठीक है? Okay. In nephritic syndrome, why is there decreased GFR? What is the difference between MPGN type 1 and type 2? As I told you, type 1 is deposits of IgG and C3. And there is characteristic double contour or Tram-Tack appearance seen in MPGN type 1, whereas MPGN type 2 is also known as dense deposit disease or the C3 glomerulopathy, in which there is mainly deposition of C3 and not these IgG. Okay, this was by Archie syndrome. In nephritic syndrome, why is there decrease in the GFR? हाँ जी, कैपिलरी ल्यूमन को पूरा डिस्ट्रॉय कर दिया, जिनका मेनली फंक्शन होता है to capillary membrane का main function होता है to of the permeability. They are permeable to certain type of proteins and they do not allow certain type of proteins or the things to pass into the urine. When they are damaged, so there is leaking and ये inflammatory cells जो पूरा का पूरा डैमेज कर देते हैं उसको, तो ये अपना GFR मेंटेन नहीं कर पाते हैं. दैट इज ऑफ फिल्टरिंग. इनका फिल्टरिंग का जो प्रोसेस होता है दैट इज मेनली डैमेज. So the normal GFR that they're supposed to maintain the kidney flow, सारा का सारा डैमेज हो जाता है because vessels ही डैमेज हो गई. So there is decreased blood flow to the kidney only, which is again leading to stimulation of renin-angiotensin mechanism and aldosterone secretion, which leads to sodium and water retention. क्योंकि हमारी पूरी की पूरी वेसल्स ही डैमेज हो रही है, कैपिलरी डैमेज हो रही है, इसलिए देयर इज डिक्रीज GFR. The normal flow to the kidney is not being maintained. Okay, any other doubt? I think यही थे. Yes, any other doubt? What is the difference between development of subepithelial and subendothelial? I will show you in a diagram. See, ये मेरा पूरा का पूरा glomerulus है. These are the capillary tufts which make up the glomeruli, and in between them this is known as mesangium. जो ये बीच की spaces होती है. ये जो मेरा पूरा glomerula होता है, यहाँ पे ये मेरे यहाँ पे parietal cells होते हैं. ये मेरी Bowman space होती है. यहाँ पे मेरे visceral epithelial cells होते हैं, which is not very evident in this. When the deposits are within the capillary lumen, उसे बोलते हैं subendothelial. जब वो इसके basement membrane में आ जाते हैं, that is seen in membranous. And when it is outside the basement membrane, but beneath these visceral epithelial cells, it is known as subepithelial deposit. Depending on the site of deposition of immune complexes, you classify these nephritis, the glomerulonephritis syndrome. ठीक है? जब एक capillary lumen के नीचे deposit होते हैं, it is subendothelial. When they are within the basement membrane, that is doubling of the basement membrane, it is seen in membranous. And when these are beneath the visceral epithelial cells, then it is subepithelial. Slide 3. क्या थी slide 3? This, Vivek. Vivek, यही थी, I think. Okay. Yes, any other doubt? You want me to explain or you want to take a screenshot of this? Screenshot, okay. Any other doubts? Or should I end the class? The first slide also, yes, please. I can. This was this. Visible, Sophia? Okay, thank you so much. I think I'll end the session. Thank you so much.